Good morrow, peasants. Welcome to The Sweat. Let's help make you rich with some free DFS and sports betting advice. It's a smorgasbord of NFL, NBA, PGA, and NHL. But batting leadoff, you see what I did there? Our baseball bros, DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan and Nick Friar, along with RotoWire's Mr. Erik Halterman. One of my favorite segments here. Some would even say it's the highest rated segment in the Sweat's history. Put up your Buchs. Steve Buchanan will give us his favorite play at the following positions. Nick and Erik face the tough task of telling him why he's wrong. They can also agree with Steve, proving they are cowards. Buchs, in the words of the great Mills Lane, let's get it on. Who's your dude at pitcher?
Yeah, and you know what? It's okay to be a coward because going up against a man of my stature is not how you want to start off your Tuesday morning. So being a coward is just fine. Let's start off with pitcher tonight, JT Brubaker. I mean, there's not much to dislike here going up against the Cardinals. He's striking out over a batter an inning. We like that. Check that one off. Doesn't walk many guys. Check that one off. And has a 53.8% ground ball rate on the season. Another check for our guy tonight, JT. The Cardinals have one of the highest K rates in the leagues against righties, 24% on the year, and just an 88 WRC plus. He's only 7,600 tonight, which kind of sort of feels like a steal. So if you're worried about, oh, maybe he's overpriced, he's not overpriced. He's right in that mid-range. What's not to like? But let's see what these men, or will they be cowards, say about this one.
Okay, so I do know sources have informed me that Nick is going to agree with you at least on the first one.
Well,
Nick?
Coward. Sorry, you want to call me a coward for saying that you're right? So I'm complimenting your analysis and somehow that you're going to insult me for that? Look, JT Brubaker, the only thing
you must be new here.
Yes. Okay. Anyways, the only thing about Brubaker as a DFS player, the only thing about him I like more tonight other than DFS is his K prop on DK Sportsbook. It's at 4.5. I'm hammering the over on that one tonight. He's going against the Cardinals team. Look, I know that they're 12th in K rate against right-handed pitching, but I think it was at 7 strikeouts against them earlier in the season, so he's done well against them. And this allows you to pair up with someone like Zach Wheeler, maybe, who's at 10K tonight. So you go with those two. I mean, the Marlins, that lineup, okay, Steve. The Marlins lineup is what? They're bottom 3 against right-handed pitching at OPS, ISO, and WOBA, and they have like the 5th highest K rate against right-handed pitching. So again, another K prop that I like, Zach Wheeler, is over 7.5 tonight. So those are your two starters right there. Boom, you're all set.
Erik, what side do you fall on here?
Yeah, I think it's not actually me being the coward for agreeing with Steve here. I think it's actually the reverse. I think Steve is a coward for agreeing with me on JT Brubaker.
Nice.
Because I
love that.
I talked him up in his last start. I've been talking him up basically everywhere I can. He was on half of my season-long teams this year because I liked him heading into the year because he was average or better at all 3 of strikeout rate, ground ball rate, and walk rate, just no weaknesses. If you look at the guys who did that last year in at least as many innings, it's basically a bunch of aces, Brubaker, and then also Nathan Eovaldi for some reason. And this year, all 3 of those are taking steps in the right direction, which is exactly what you want to see in a guy's second year. So I think his floor is incredibly high. He's had 14.8 or more DraftKings points in each of his starts this season. He doesn't have the highest ceiling, but I think that's totally okay because he's very consistently above average everywhere around. I'll also note, if you are going to pay up for somebody, I think Blake Snell is the guy I like. He's had some innings issues this year, but I think it's not very hard to go deep against the Rockies when you're not in Coors Field. So if you're going to pay up, that's the direction I'd go, but Brubaker is also my guy, not actually Steve's.
All right. Buchs, round 2. Fight. Infielder.
That was very good. That was a very good impression there. Let's go with
Thanks,
Javier
Mr.
Baez.
Snitch.
You're very welcome. Let's go with Javier Baez tonight. He's finally starting to cut down on the strikeouts, which absolutely plagued him during the month of April. Tonight, he gets a really favorable matchup against Patrick Corbin, who is expected to be activated off the paternity list and probably a little bit sleepy. You know, new baby in the mix, you're not getting a lot of sleep. How can you concentrate on the mound against this Cubs lineup? Baez against lefties has a 339 WOBA, 273 isolated power, and a 114 WRC plus on the year. This is a very good Cubs lineup against lefties. They have a lot of mashers in that lineup there. Javier Baez Baez right in the middle of that should be in a prime start against Patrick Corbin, who has struggled even before the baby came. Now the baby's here. Now he's got to deal with all that, pooping all over the place, throwing up all over the place. Now he's on the mound. He's going to have to concentrate and try to get out Javier Baez. Not going to happen like Baez tonight.
As a father of 2 puppies currently, I know what it is like to have kids pooping all over the place. Nick, where do you sit on this one, man? You going to put up your Buchs and punch Steve in the face?
I'm actually just right now wondering what the exit velo is on his kid's crap right now. That's what I want to really know. But anyways, I can't fault anybody for targeting Patrick Corbin, of course, but I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm actually going to stay in Chicago, but I'm going to go to the South Side with Tim Anderson at 5.5K against Michael Pineda. And look, I know Pineda's had a good season, but does anybody remember what happened last time these two faced off? I'm pretty sure it was the first pitch leadoff home run for Tim Anderson. And that's not really out of the ordinary for him against Pineda, because he's got two doubles, and I believe it's 3 home runs or two home runs against Pineda this season. His career 9 for 15. And then you're going up against the Twins bullpen that has a 4.38 FIP, a 1.47 WHIP. I know that their FIP's a little bit lower than their ERA, but their regression is not going to be that significant.
All right, Erik, how do you feel about Steve's pick?
I admit I hadn't considered the poop analytics angle on this one.
Why I'm here.
But exactly. The best content. But I'm a little bit scared of Baez. You're basically locking in 2 or 3 strikeouts and hoping that he gets a homer in his other plate appearances, which, he does. That is what he does. But I'm going to go with a different guy who's a risk because of his strikeouts, and that's Brandon Lau. He started off the year really slowly, 593 OPS, 58 OPS, still below last year's excellent numbers. But I think a repeat of last year was always pretty unlikely. I think the guy's pretty good. All around, except for low average. He's only hitting 195, but a low 241 BABIP explains some of that. He's got the platoon advantage against Matt Harvey in a hitter-friendly park. I know everybody loved Matt Harvey's renaissance this year, but it's a renaissance to, okay, he's a real major league pitcher again, but a back-end starter on the Orioles. It's not a renaissance to, he's Matt Harvey again, not striking anybody out. If you allow a lot of contact in hitter-friendly park like they have in Baltimore, I think a guy like Lau can do damage.
Steve, is it true your kid's first words were Woba?
Woba and isolated power was number 2.
Okay, awesome. How about your outfielder, dude? Put up your Buchs.
Yeah, Teoscar Hernandez. When we talk about hitters that are elite against lefties, I feel like his name isn't really in the mix, but quite frankly, it really should be. Since the beginning of last season, and we could even go back further than this, but even since the beginning of last season, 376 WOBA, a 257 isolated power, and a 139 139 WRC plus. He should be hitting cleanup tonight against Eduardo Rodriguez, who really hasn't gotten off to the best start so far this year. Home runs have been a little bit more of an issue than they have been for him in the past. And against this club, once again, another good hitting club against lefties. I think he's going to run into issues quickly against his club. So Hernandez in the middle of that should be able to do well tonight. Not really overly expensive either for his spot in the lineup. So I think Hernandez is a really good spot going up against Rodriguez.
Erik, what do you want to do? Fight on this one?
Hernandez was actually my second choice out of this group. So I definitely am not very strongly disagreeing with Steve here. The only thing is I like Eduardo Rodriguez a little bit more than he seems to. I think there's really good strikeout and walk numbers, and his underlying numbers suggest an ERA that's significantly better than his actual ERA, which is in the low 4s. My top pick is Shohei Ohtani. I always had some issues with the Babe Ruth comparisons for him, because when you think Babe Ruth is the first thing you think of really, he pitched some. No, it's that he hit everything out of the park. This year, I think Shohei Ohtani actually deserves those Babe Ruth comparisons because he's hitting everything out of the park. Just crushed one that was way out of the strike zone, way up high last night. Just demolished it. And that was his league-leading 13th homer. He's second in the league in barrel rate. He trails only Giancarlo Stanton, who famously hits the ball kind of hard. He trails only Stanton in max exit velocity. So I think that power is very real. I think the Babe Ruth comparisons are much more accurate this year than ever, and he'll get the platoon advantage against Zach Plesac, who suddenly stopped striking people out. And last year, that spike in strikeout rate kind of came out of nowhere compared to what he did as a rookie. So I think Ohtani's got a good matchup here and should keep being Babe Ruth tonight.
Okay, I have a fun fact about Babe Ruth that I learned over the weekend. At one time, Tampa had a downtown sports stadium named Plant Field, which would host spring training baseball games. It was here on April 4th, 1919, in a game between the Boston Red Sox and New York Giants that Babe Ruth hit his longest home run ever. Nick, do you know how long that home run was?
No, I don't.
It was 587 feet, according to records back in 1919. Anywho,
yes, okay.
I just figured I'd share that with you guys because it was mind-boggling for me. But do you agree or disagree with Steve's pick here?
I think that Steve has a great pick here with Teoscar Hernandez going against Erod, because if you look at the slate tonight, when you look at the matchups, Hernandez is one of 4 guys who has 3 or more home runs against the pitcher that they're facing, and he only did it in 15 at-bats. The other guy, of course, Tim Anderson, who I also like as well. But I want to help round out everybody's outfield. I have a good value play, but for right now, I'm going to save that for a second. And I'm going to go with Kyle Schwarber up against Zach Davies. Now, I mentioned Tim Anderson and Teoscar Hernandez both have 3 home runs against the pitchers that they're facing tonight. Schwarber has 4 against Zach Davies, and he has a career 914 OPS against him. And this is Davies is a guy who I feel pretty comfortable targeting in general. And then you got this whole revenge game type setting too, going up against the Cubs. I know we can't exactly quantify that, but we're also talking about baby crap on here and factoring that into plays. So I feel like you can kind of factor in a revenge game setting as well. So Schwarber at 4K against Zach Davies is my other outfielder tonight.